We're here with Elliot Masie from the class of 72. So, Elliot, talk about what you are doing now.
Well, I am the chairman of the Learning CONSORTIUM, which is a collaboration of about 250 large organizations from Walmart, American Express, Central Intelligence Agency, that look at how organizations will continue the learning process for their employees.
So we're here to talk about college, career, and citizenship, the challenge of all, which is a very broad topic. What in particular would you plan to talk about during the presentation this afternoon?
Well, I think that the process of education is as important as the either specific curriculum or the outcomes. Clearly we want our students and our learners to have a canon of knowledge and have specialty. But I also think it's really important that they graduate their institutions as aggressive, empowered, and curious learners. So for me, what's really intriguing about education is that more and more of the learning process can now be driven by a learner, that we are starting to see what I think are some really exciting flipping of processes in education that will allow learners to gravitate to the methods that get them to some unified standards and outcomes. And I'm enormously intrigued with how we create educational institutions that prepare students to innovate and change their own institutions that they're part of.
As you look at the ways education has changed since the time that you were a student and you've been out working, what sorts of things do you notice that you find to be steps in the right direction? And is there anything that you feel is of particular concern and maybe a not so positive direction?
Well, I think a step in the right direction is that we've made education accessible for more folks. I think there's a very clear requirement, if we're going to be competitive in a global marketplace, that our broad base of learners actually have an opportunity to succeed at whatever their highest, best level can be. What concerns me to some extent, and it's even true when I walk around Binghamton right now. When I went to Binghamton in '72, this was a laboratory experiment in methodology. There was a great deal of experimentation around governance, around process. For a while, we had pass, no fail. We had a variety of innovations. We had an integrated living situation with some of our faculty where we could take intensive collaborative courses. And I worry that institutions now are in some ways squeezing some of that experimentation out. Because I think what I learned at Binghamton is that you can roll your own learning. And I think that if we create too much pre-rolled learning for our learners, they will not be able to continue that process. As former Secretary Richard Riley talks about, by the time somebody graduates, the half-life of what they know may only be 4 or 5 years. How do we prepare them to drive learning the rest of their lives? So I wish we got back to more innovation within our processes.
As you think back on your time here at Binghamton, how do you feel the experience prepared you for what you've done and what you're doing now?
Well, we're taping this about 100 yards from the snack bar. That was my major. Most of what I learned in the snack bar. And I don't say that disparagingly. I think we were going to school at a time when there were social issues, there were transformation. There were great faculty that were also there. Richard Rayberg, Morris Boudin, and others prepared me deeply in some subject areas. But what my experience was at Binghamton was a socially relevant experience as a learner, as an activist, as a community member. It wasn't a pre-career experience for me. It was a pre-life experience, and it served me really well.
Let's talk about your experience in Champlain Hall and how that was significant to you.
Imagine showing up the first day and being told that you're going to help write the regulations for your dormitory college, which is essentially what happened. We were an experiment in self-regulation, in creation of our own structure. It was also an interesting place because many of us went to Binghamton, came out of New York City, weren't from families who could afford private education. I hadn't visited the campus, bluntly. I was the first member of my family ever to go to college. My guidance counselor said, this looks good. I took a bus and I'm here. And I think the process of what Champlain was about was bringing together a very interesting collection of people, including somebody from Africa, somebody who had served in the RAF, and giving us the keys to the kingdom to help design what our experience was. And I think many of us never stopped designing.
Great. Elliot Masie from the class of '72. Thank you very much.